Hello designers and welcome back to another Affinity Designer tutorial. Today I will show you how to create an orange, and we'll use a stock photography photograph as a reference image, and we can get that from within Affinity Designer. We'll then look at exploring the pixel persona mode, where we'll be able to add texture with all the brushes and we'll layer it up and make it look really cool. Let's jump right in. Starting with a blank document, the first thing I want to do is grab a reference image from a stock photography website. So I'm going to head on over to the stock tab on the right hand side, just over here. I'm going to click on that. You have the options for the different stock sites. I'm going to leave it on Unsplash, and in the search bar I'm going to type in orange. I'm going to press return. I'm going to drag out this image here. Okay, that's too big, so we're going to scale that down a little bit. I'm going to grab one of the sides, press Command, and scale it down. Okay, so we have our image. The next thing I want to do is make sure I have the right colors when I'm creating this image here. So I'm going to create a new palette based off of the colors in this photo. So what we're going to do, we're going to head on up to Swatch, the Swatch panel here. I'm going to click on that, and then click on the three lines with the little triangle and scroll down till you see Create Palette from Document. And we're going to select as Document Palette because we just want this palette to be available in the document we're working on. Click on that and you can see it's populated this kind of swatch here with all the colors that are in this image. Well, some of them anyway. This is one way to do it. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to trace around this orange shape here. So grabbing our pencil tool over here, the shortcut is N. I'm going to grab that, and I'll just show you some of the settings I have on this tool. I have stabilizer on, and also if I hover over this, I have rope mode selected. And I've got a length here as well, and use fill. And what this allows us to do is draw around this shape, whilst kind of dragging a rope behind it, which means it's going to be a little bit smoother, the lines we create. I'll demonstrate that now. So I'll click on the edge and you can see this red kind of rope here. This allows us to kind of drag that behind us and get kind of a smoother edges here. So it's not so jagged. I'm just going to drag this around, kind of following along the orange shape, and I'll just stop about here. So I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see we have our round nodes here and we have our square nodes. Now if I just click on A, which is our node tool, which is up here, you can see if we click on that, it's got a few handles, and as we haven't closed the shape yet, these ones have square nodes. So we're going to want to select both of these, so just click and drag out on both of these nodes. And we're going to go up to this thing called action here, and we're going to go along to this symbol, join curves. Click on that, and you can see it's joined both curves together. If we zoom in, it's still looking a little bit sharp, that edge there. So to get around that, you're going to keep your finger on Control, and we're going to click on the node. And you can see that has given it the round node look, and we've got some handles here now, so I can just click and drag that out. So it kind of follows the line, the outline of the orange. And there's one more. Let's do that again. Control, click. And we'll drag the handle out a little bit like that. Another way, if you didn't draw it quite right, and there's a few too many kind of pointy edges here, you can go up to Action and this one, Smooth Curve. Now if I click it once, you'll see it starts manipulating the nodes that we've created there. And the more you press it, the more it will kind of smooth off your circle here. And now I can see it has actually created this. Just to be a bit of a perfectionist, I want that to be one of those round nodes. So I'm going to press Control, click to round it off again. Let's make this an orange color, and we'll use it from our color palette over here. So maybe I'll make it something like that, or maybe we can go even darker. Just kind of cycle through, see which one's best. I think maybe this one we'll start off with, slightly darker, and we can start building up our texture on top of that. Right now we're just drawing out our basic shapes. So we have our orange. Let's go to the layers panel down here, and you can see our first shape. let's just name it orange. Press return. Okay, so the next thing we're going to draw, let's draw the stalk first. Let's draw that. So grab the pen tool and just click up here somewhere. I'll just turn off snapping. So I'll just click and I'll choose a point down here, click down here, and just keeping your finger on it and dragging out about there. Okay, so if I press Control and click on this node, it will get rid of that handle like that, so it comes to an abrupt stop. And I'll just click somewhere like that. And what we're going to do is zoom out a little bit more. I'll just click on this section here and just drag it out like that. I'll let go. And you can see there's a handle here. If I wanted to play around with this handle, shortcut to the kind of node, we could use the node tool again, but I want to stay in the pen tool right now. If I just click on Command, you can see the icon has turned into the node icon. So I can just click and drag on this handle to where I want it to be. Okay. Press Control and click, and that's gotten rid of that. And then I'll just click on that. Just bring it to a straight edge there. And let's give it a fill color. So I will choose one of these colors. And now that I've filled it, I think this is a little bit too thick down the bottom here. So I'm just going to click on Command, turn it into that node tool, and I'm just going to bring that in a little bit more. The next thing we're going to draw out is this leaf. We're just going to draw one orange and one leaf and one stalk. So I'll just name this stalk. Press return. Now we can grab the pencil tool. So I'll just click with my pencil tool, click and drag, and I'll just, like we did before, I'll just follow along the outline of the leaf. And you can see with the rope tool, I can kind of bring it around and it doesn't really affect it too much. And then I'll follow along the line underneath like that. Okay, so let's close this shape. So I'll press A on the node tool. I'll just select both of those. And again, we're going to click on Join Curves. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is duplicate this shape so I can get the other side of the leaf there that's looking a little bit darker. So I'm just going to call this leaf, the one we've created. Press return. And what we're going to do with that selected, I'm going to press Command J to duplicate that. We will select the underlayer now that we have that duplicated leaf. And I'll just call this one, the layer underneath, I'll call this behind for now. Press return. And we'll give it a slightly darker color, maybe something like that. We can't really see it right now because it's hiding behind our leaf. So I'm going to press V, the move tool. I'm just going to click and drag it out a little bit like that. And now we're going to want to delete some of the nodes. So again, back to the node tool, A. I'm going to delete a few of these nodes here because we're going to hide some of this. And I'll delete this one. I'll just click on this node and I'll drag out the handle here to somewhere like that. And I'll do the same on this side as well. I'll just click and drag that down so it's hiding behind there. I'll do the same with that. Maybe I'll put it here. I'll just drag that handle out so it kind of follows along the same line. A few too many nodes here. I'm going to delete those. Okay, that's looking a bit sharp. So again, just drag that out, smooth it off a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move this picture that's behind. I'm going to press on V, the move tool. I'm just going to click on Shift and click and drag to the right, just so it stays in a straight line. I'll just kind of have it off to the side like that, because we'll still use this as a reference to when we are painting. So first of all, I want the stalk to be hiding behind the orange. I'll just drag the leaf under there as well. So I'm just dragging them under on the layers panel, reorganizing them like that. And I can see that the leaf is kind of touching this orange. So I'm going to go ahead and click on A, the node tool. I'm going to click and drag that out so it's kind of touching it about there. Okay, so to make things slightly more simple, I'm going to add this stalk and this leaf together so they're one shape. So I'm going to click on leaf, and then there's our stalk in the layers panel. Just going to click on command and select the stalk, so both of them are selected. I'm going to go up to the geometry tools. I'm going to click add. So now that's just one shape. Okay, it's time to start painting. So what we're going to do next is go to our pixel persona mode here. And now we've got new options on the left hand side. So I'm going to select paintbrush. And I'm going to choose a suitable brush for this. So I'm going to go up to brush, and I'm in sprays and spatters, which is up there somewhere. And I'm going to choose a brush. I think I will go for this one here, Finest Spray Raid. And now I'm going to choose a color. So I'm going to go on our swatches again. And you can see this is our orange palette. And I'm going to select a lighter orange color here. So I'll start off by selecting this one. What I'm going to be doing is using the paintbrush with this particular brush to kind of build up our texture. So it kind of looks similar to this. It's not going to look realistic on this one. We're just going for a cool looking orange. So I'm starting off with this. Got a fairly big brush here, and I'm going to select orange. I'm just going to show you what happens if I just want it to hit the orange shape. I'm going to click and drag. And if we zoom in, you can see that it's going over the orange. We don't want that. We only want to paint within the orange shape. So I'm going to press Command Z to go back a step. And what I'm going to do, just delete that pixel layer it created. And with orange selected, we're going to go up to Insertion and click on Insert inside the selection. Now when we paint over this orange, it's going to be within the boundaries of the shape. So I'll go ahead and do that. And now you can see it's not spilling over anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you should be able to just follow me what I'll be doing. Literally, I'll just be choosing different colors from our color palette and going darker, lighter, and I'll just do it all on one pixel layer here. And occasionally I might also choose if I grab a color like this and I want it slightly lighter, I'll just double tap on this and just drag it up a little bit so it's lighter. So I'll just go ahead and do that now. To make the brush smaller, you can press the bracket keys, the left one to make it smaller, the right one to make it bigger. Obviously you can do that up here in the width. Okay, I've chosen a few different colors from the palette and chose a few of my own. And it's kind of starting to look pretty good. But I've also noticed on the orange, if we just zoom in, you can see on an orange, there's these kind of round circles that are quite big. So I kind of want to add that into our design as well. So right now it's looking kind of smooth. They're very sort of fine spray and spatters. They're very fine right now. So let's choose a different brush to achieve that. Head up to brushes. And we're still in sprays and spatters. I'll choose Airbrush 04. And that's quite big right now, but just as a test, I'm just going to click on it once to see, oh, that's quite big at the moment. So I'll just check the color that we're going to use, go to swatches. I'll just choose, yeah, I'll stay on orange 25 here. So I'm just going to make it slightly smaller, this brush. Hardness is on 50. I'm just going to change that. Try and get that kind of look. And I think it needs to be a little bit more orange than that. So I'm just going to delete all of that. That's a good thing about this program. You can just press Command Z, go back, and then start again if you feel like you can get it slightly better. So I'll choose a different color and try again. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to brush in our texture into the leaf and the stalk. So I'll just close that orange shape and go to stalk. And I'm going to go back to the brush we used before, which is this one. I'm going to go to our swatches, and seems as we're going to start off on this one. We're going to choose a slightly lighter green. So I'll start off with this one, orange 35. And again, we have stalk selected, which is our stalk and our leaf now because we added them both together. And I'm going to click on Insert Inside Selection and make that slightly smaller. And I'm just going to start painting to see how it looks. Okay, let's use our reference image again. Okay, so it's slightly darker down here and much lighter on the top. So we can go ahead and choose a much lighter green color and start painting again. Now I'm going to make this slightly smaller and just kind of get the edges here. Just brighten up the very edge of the leaf here. Okay, now I'm going to make it darker for underneath the leaf. So I'm going to grab this one, the shadows being cast from the orange. Go bigger, get more texture. And I'll go slightly darker again. You can just turn the hardness up. Okay, it's not as yellowy as that one, and maybe I should make it like that. So maybe I'll just pass through with a new color. So I'll just grab the eyedropper tool in the top right, and I'll just select kind of a color that we don't seem to be having. And click on it, and this is our new color. I'm going to make the hardness a little bit more. Just kind of dragging over it a little bit. All right, let's move on to behind, which is our leaf behind. So if I just look at this one, it's quite dark down here, and then it's just got a lighter edge to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So it's quite dark anyway, so let's choose a light color. We'll just make my brush way smaller just so that we can touch upon the top of the edge there. Oh, forgot to do one thing. Press Command Z to go back, delete that pixel layer it created. And we've got behind selected, insertion, insert inside selection, and now we'll start painting. And I'll just make this slightly greener because it's kind of a really dark green there. So I'll just choose maybe this color here. And I really want to make that lip slightly lighter than it is. So I'm just going to double tap that and bring it up slightly. Go in again and just try and hit those edges again, make them much brighter. And I think I'm going to bring that leaf up a little bit. So I'm going to go back into Designer Persona, and I'm going to click on A for the node tool, and I'm going to click on behind to make sure that shape is selected. And I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so it's revealing a little bit more. And you can see that's kind of messed up our pixel layer. So I'll just grab the pixel layer and I'll press V, and I can just move it up with the arrow keys on my keyboard. Okay, back into Pixel Persona and the paintbrush. I'm just going to paint a little bit more. Okay, so our orange and the stalk and the leaf is done. I just want to put it on some kind of background that's a bit like this. So I'm going to go back to Designer Persona, and with all our layers here, I'm just going to select all of these and just drag it out over this side. And I'm going to draw a box that's kind of the same shape as that. Grab the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag down around somewhere like that. And I'm just going to go to the layers, and I'm just going to drag it to the bottom there. I'll make it around the same kind of width. Right, let's change the color of that. I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool. I'm going to hit it on the background and click, and now that's changed the color of that one. Now let's grab I assume this is a table that it's on. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate the shape we already have there. So I'm going to press Command J to duplicate it. You can see in the layers panel. I'll just change the color of that slightly, maybe something a bit lighter. So I'll just double tap on that and just bring it up a little bit more. And press close and just drag from the top down Okay, and so for the background, you can see it's got a bit of texture in there as well. Maybe it's like some kind of concrete wall or something painted white. So I'm just going to add a bit of texture to the wall back there. So back into Pixel Persona, click on the paintbrush, choose your brush. I think I'll go with the big one this time, airbrush. Let's choose a color as well. Go to our swatches. You could choose one from here, but I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool and I'm going to choose the darkest area, kind of where the wall is meeting the table. And I'm going to click on that. You can see it's slightly darker where the wall meets the table. And before I paint, I'm just going to select inside selection and I'm going to choose our table. Let's name it table, and this is our background. Okay, so we want to paint on the background, so click on that, click on insert selection, and just start painting a bit. Okay, with the pixel layer here, you can see it's a lot more defined than this because it's obviously in the background, it's a little bit more blurry. So I'm just going to paint a little bit more and then add an effect onto that. Just going to grab opacity and drag it down, and you can kind of build up each time you make a pass through with the brush. Okay, so pixel layer is selected. I'm going to go down to effects, Gaussian blur. I'll just move this to the side slightly. And I'm going to click on it and drag up. And you can see it's kind of blurring in the background there. We'll press close. Okay, so next we're going to create that blur on the table that you see here. So I'm going to hit on the move tool and I'm going to go back to designer persona and I'm going to select the table layer and I'm going to duplicate that. So Command J to duplicate it. And then on the layer underneath, I'm just going to drag that up about here. And I'm going to go up to fill and I'm going to click on the remove fill button up here. So it looks like this. And I'm going to drag our table layer with the fill. I'm going to drag it down and to the right to clip it inside of that empty square. And now I'm going to apply an effect to the table. So I'm going to click on effects and I'm just going to drag that out slightly. If we just zoom in, I could see how much I should bring up the radius so it looks like the photo. So that looks okay there. I'm going to press on close and notice when you engage the Gaussian blur, you'll see the sides start to feather a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're just going to drag them out a little bit so that we don't get that. And that is our blurry table. So the next thing I'm going to do is create the shadow that's underneath the orange. So I'm going to go ahead and select table. I'm going to choose the ellipse tool, which is M shortcut. And I'm just going to draw out a shape, something like that. I'm going to press V, the move tool again, so I can move this around. And I think I'll just having a look at it. I think I'll have it about here. That looks about right. And the next thing I'm going to do is grab our transparency tool here on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to click on the left side and drag it out to the right side. I'm just going to pull this little handle up a little bit. Okay, press V, the move tool again, and we're going to want to give this a bit of a blur now, as it's a shadow. So head on over to the effects tab, and we'll pump up the Gaussian blur, and press close. Okay, looking a little bit further in, I can see that it's a little bit darker here, and it seems to be kind of in a semicircle shape, so I'm going to create that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate this shape that we've already created, Command J, and I'm going to make this black in the colors. And I'm going to get rid of the transparency. So I've clicked on the transparency, click on the color, and I'll just click on this little icon here, the white circle with the red line through it. And I'm going to click on the move tool again, and I'm going to reshape this shape that we have here. So I'm going to bring it down about here, maybe somewhere like that. And then I'm going to click on convert to curves. I'm going to click on A, our node tool. Just going to hold down Alt and click. Alt and click. With this one, I'm just going to drag it up a little bit like that. Okay, and now I'm going to bring down the opacity of that layer slightly. And the next thing I'm going to do, because we've added the Gaussian blur, it's not as dark anymore. So I'm just going to add another little ellipse in here. So selecting the ellipse, Draw out a little circle here, or egg shape. Press V, the move tool, and just place it somewhere like that. And we'll chuck on another Gaussian blur, just a little bit. Something like that. Now it's starting to look kind of similar, and it's just about building up these kind of layers to give it that effect. So looking at this shadow and this one, it's a bit light on this side, so I'm just going to hit the transparency tool again and push this slider up to the right a little bit more. Okay, so we've got our basic shadow here. You can see it's a little bit lighter. If we go to this one, it's a little bit lighter up here and a bit lighter here as well, from maybe the light behind the orange. So I'll just recreate that as well. So I'm going to choose this shape that we made earlier, and I'm going to duplicate that, Command J, and I'm going to flip that upside down. I'm going to drag it up, and I'll change the color of that to white. And I'm just going to drag it out slightly so it looks a little bit similar to the photo we had. I'll click on the node tool and just drag it out myself, and a little bit more on the other side. So we have our shadow now. I'll just select all of these in the layers panel and press Command G to group, and I'll just call this shadow. Okay, let's tidy up the layers section. I want to stick all of the things I've made within the background, so I'm going to go to the layers panel and select the first one, keep my finger on shift and select all the way to the table. And then I'm just going to drag down and to the right on the background. Now that's all inside. Let's look at duplicating some of these shapes and finishing off this design. So what I'm going to do with the orange, I'm going to duplicate that, Command J, and I'm going to make sure that I'll choose the background layer because I've just duplicated it, just so it ends up behind. And I'll bring it to around about there, so it's just behind that other orange. It's a bit darker where they touch, so I'm going to drag that out and around somewhere like that. And I'll just make it slightly darker there where it's just touching. So I'll just press A first and just bring it in a little bit more like that. And we're going to go back to Pixel Persona. I'm going to click on the brush. I'm going to choose our color again. We'll choose a dark one there. And maybe, yeah, we'll choose a dark one. Maybe make it even darker than that. And we're going to make sure we've got the right brush. So I'll choose this one again, which is our Finest Spray Raid. I'm going to make that smaller. And I'll just open up the layer. This is our orange on the right, so I'll just call it orange right and orange left so it doesn't get too confusing. So I'll just select the pixel layer here and I'll start painting, and it will paint within our orange right shape. We can go back to the orange left and add a bit more of a dark shadow at the bottom of this orange. So I'll just click on orange left, click on the pixel layer, and I'll just start painting in here. I think we could go even darker here. So I'm just going to change the color again. Maybe I'll just bring it right down there. Okay, that's done, and we'll go to orange right, and we'll do the same thing over here because we're going to have a shadow under here afterwards as well. So I'll just make that much darker here, and I'll leave it kind of at that. Maybe add a little bit more darkness right here. Let's duplicate the shadow. So we'll click on shadow, click on the move tool, V, so we can see what it is selecting, and we will press Command J to duplicate that, and I'll just drag it out whilst holding shift so it stays in a straight line. Drag it to around about there. I'm going to reverse this, so I'm going to go up to the transform tools and click on flip horizontally. I'm going to push it out like that. I will open up the shadow layer and I'll click on our base shape. I'll just bring that out so it meets up with the other shadow. Okay, that's done. Okay, let's draw our stalk. So we grab the pen tool. Just going to click somewhere around here, so maybe the other stalk is coming from slightly behind. I'll just drag it out like that, press Control, get rid of that handle, click, and we'll complete the shape. Hold down Command so you can grab the handle, Control, click, and click to finish it off there. We'll just drag that in slightly, and we'll grab the eyedropper tool and choose one of the green colors there. And this one we're going to drag underneath orange left and the stalk as well. And we're going to drag the orange right underneath the stalk. So that's the stalk is on top of the orange. Okay, so I'm going to shorten this up a little bit. So I'm going to click on the node tool. I'm just going to drag these up slightly like that. And I'm just going to draw another shape with the ellipse tool. Drag that, press V, the move tool, drag it up underneath the stalk, make it slightly darker. Okay, we'll just paint this stalk. So back to Pixel Persona, click on the brush, choose your brush. We'll choose this one here, Finer Spray Raid, go back to swatch, and we'll choose one of those light colors, maybe this one here. So highlight the stalk, the second one. I'll call it Stalk 2. And we'll click on Insert Inside Selection. We've got our paintbrush and we're ready to go. Okay, so if we look in here, it's a little bit darker here where the shadow kind of comes down. So we'll just play around with our orange shape. I'm going to go back to Designer Persona, click A, the node tool. I'm going to go back to our base. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to click on Convert to Curves. I'm just going to push that up slightly like that. I'm going to drag these out so it looks like the orange is coming up slightly. I'll press V, the move tool, and just move it down a little bit more. And now I'm going to go back to Pixel Persona. I'm going to start painting inside this orange, which is orange right. So I'll click on that, click on the pixel layer, and I'll choose my color. So I'll choose that dark color there. I'll just start painting a little bit. And we'll make it lighter just on this edge here. Okay, so we have an orange. It's not perfect. It's not just like the photo, but we've got some cool texture going on here. And I suppose the last thing I'll show you is how to create these water droplets. So I'll just minimize all of this and I'll just go in and show you how I would go about doing that. I'll kind of just want to duplicate one of these water droplets here. So I'm going to go back to Designer Persona. I'm going to grab the pencil tool. I'm just going to trace around this shape here. And stop there. Click on A, the node tool. Select both of them. Join curves. And we'll press on Control and click, Control and click. Round them off slightly. I'll just press V, the move tool, and move it across to the side so we can continue copying. So the next thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got the right color. So I'll grab the eyedropper tool and I'll drag it on the lightest color in this droplet. And then I'm going to add an effect. I'm going to go to Inner Shadow. And I'm going to choose the darkest section of that water droplet. So I'll go on color. Grab the eyedropper tool inside there and just choose something like here. Okay, now I can bring the radius out slightly. You can see we've kind of got the right color. And I don't want this inner shadow to happen all around the shape. So I'm going to click on offset and bring it down slightly. You can see it's going off to the side there. I want it to go straight down. So I'm going to change the angle. And I'm just going to make it go to around about here. So I'm done with this section, with this main part of the water droplet. I'm just going to make this slightly transparent. So I'm going to go to opacity. I'm going to bring it down slightly like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is draw these reflections here. So I'm going to draw exactly the same reflection that that one has. So I'm just going to grab the pen tool and click around. Press Control to get rid of that handle. Something like that, so it's kind of similar. And I'll click and make it white. Now I'm going to go to the Fill tool, Gradient, and I'm going to choose Elliptical. I'm going to grab the Fill tool in the left-hand side there. I'm just going to move this somewhere I'm happy with. I'm going to select one of these sides here. If I just move it out the way and we'll place it over our droplet. What I want to do, it's a bit lighter here and a bit darker on the outside. So with our fill, I'm going to choose the darker color there and grab the eyedropper tool and just drag it over there somewhere. So you can see it's starting to look similar. And I'm going to want to drag this arm down slightly, but I want this one to stay the same. So I'm going to hover over this color, press Control and click and drag down like that. And I'm going to bring that in slightly as well. Okay, press V for the move tool. It's looking quite sharp there. If you wanted to, you could go to Effects and just add on a slight bit of Gaussian blur there, like that. And press close. And the last thing is this side, there's a little bit of light there. So I'll just grab the pen tool. I'm going to draw my own light. Something like that, and I'll make that white. I can bring down the opacity of that and add on the Gaussian blur to that as well, just a little bit. It looks like it should be a little bit lighter here. I'm just going to go to the color and make it a little bit lighter. Okay, now that that's complete now, so let's add all of these together. So we'll press Command G once they're all selected, and you can name it. And if we zoom out, you can see it looks a little bit more real, my one compared to the real one here. And you can just duplicate this by just clicking on Command and click and drag out, so you can add a few more. And that's what you do with your own one. I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you did like it, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.